Last week, I put out this video after I found out that there's a chance that your pre-sale condo that you bought, well, really, you may be paying more than what you actually agreed to. And this video is a follow-up to that video because I now have more information. And let's face it, a ton of people have bought pre-sale condos or townhouses over the last year or so. So I thought I would follow up this video and make sure you have all of the information so you can make better informed decisions, either if you're looking into pre-sales or if you're looking over that old contract that maybe you're now regretting. Because developers' contracts are so large and so cumbersome, you may have overlooked certain terms in them, but there's one thing I know for certain after watching this video you're not going to overlook, and that is the like button. That's right, you clicking the like button really helps me get this information out to other pre-sale purchasers who are going to really want to know exactly what's going on here, because this term could be in their contract and could cost them money. So thank you for hitting the like button, and if you would like to stay up to date on my marketplace here in Surrey and the Fraser Valley, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss upcoming videos. And a little bit of housekeeping. Normally I would ask you to book a call with me if you have any interest in doing anything in real estate, but no, not on this video today. Instead, I'm going to ask you to check out the new podcast that I have launched with my friend Tom Story called The Tom Story Show, where we discuss both industry topics in real estate and also the market in general, or whatever else the heck we feel like talking about. So the link for that podcast on the YouTube version is the first one down below this video. So please check that out after you're done watching this video. Okay, so if you missed it, in this recent video that I put out, I addressed the fact that a lawyer named Tony Spagnolo brought it to all of the real estate agents' attention that there were some developers out there putting clauses into their contracts that could actually increase the purchase price of your pre-sale condos because of something called the construction pricing index. And well, really, that's a measure of how much it costs a developer to construct either a commercial or residential property. And within these clauses in these contracts, it basically says, hey, if our construction costs go up too high, we're going to tack that cost on to you, the end user, even though we agreed to a price before. And well, now with inflation going crazy, for sure, prices aren't getting cheaper, and they're probably going to increase past the 4% that was set out in this particular contract. But there's a bunch of questions that came from us realtors back to the lawyers, and shout out to Tony Spagnolo, who's helped us out again, because he replied back with a bunch of questions and answers to questions. So I'm going to go through that email. So I do apologize. My eyes are going to drop down and read through some of the questions. I'm going to give you his response and then give also my opinion on this whole thing from a real estate agent's point of view. So again, I apologize. My eyes are going to go down. But basically, Tony sent something out saying, hey, yeah, we did receive a lot of feedback, and this is kind of what we found. So the gist of it is, he says here, they have only actually found this clause from one developer in Maple Ridge, the escalation clause, as he calls it. So this is not a widespread clause yet. He does also elaborate that he does know the developers are kind of talking in the background to see, okay, is this something that we need to put in all of our contracts to make it safe for us to proceed? So basically our projects don't go bankrupt. So question number one that Tony got was obviously, is this a legal clause to insert in your contract? And cool actually thing that Tony has the ability to do is he's got a bunch of lawyers working in his office. So he actually polled his office to find out from the senior lawyers who thinks it is enforceable. And their basic answer was, although there may be an adjustment in price, the adjustment is objective, and the contract clearly sets out how and when that price may be increased. So no court has ruled on this yet. So is it enforceable? We would only ever find that out if somebody actually took it to court and fought it. However, the argument here is this: you don't have a contract if you don't know what it is that you agreed to. So if there's a vague term in the contract, technically the whole contract, as us real estate agents will point out to you, could be void. What Tony's saying here is there is a measurement in the contract to determine what that is. So even though the purchase price may not be set, there is a calculation to determine what that purchase price will be. So as a result, yes, it is likely going to be effective, even though there is a sliding scale. If we just said maybe we'll increase it due to certain amounts of inflation at certain amounts of time, it may not be, but the calculation is in the contract. So it will likely be very enforceable. Question number 2, which I think was kind of funny, probably obvious. If the construction price drop by 4%, will they reduce the price by 4%? No, of course not. There is no provision in the contract that would allow for that. So no, there's no backing it out the other way. However, Tony does point out in this email, realistically, are construction costs going to go down by 4%? No, no chance in heck. The next question was an interesting one. Does the wording have to be in the contract, or is this a blanket for all of pre-construction moving forward? And the simple answer there is no. It is not a blanket for all contracts moving forward. It has to be in the contract. So if it is in the contract, it is something you agreed to, even if you overlooked it. If the writing is in the contract, you as the buyer are bound to it. So consider that and make sure you read your contracts. You should probably have a real estate agent read over the contracts and not just walk into a sales center and just sign the paperwork, because, well, you don't know what's in there, as people are now finding out. Is there recourse for the purchaser? And I'm going to read you Tony's answer here. Since we believe the price adjustment is enforceable, we do not believe there would be recourse for the buyers other than possibly challenging the calculation. So if there is a calculation there, maybe your recourse would be, okay, is the calculation correct, or should it be smaller? Be careful there, because if you recalculate it and you're wrong, you could end up in the wrong direction, and the price could increase even further. And then Tony points out that, hey, we could be wrong. Maybe, for instance, there is some recourse. However, it would take a litigation law firm, which I don't believe Spagnolo is. They are an estate and transfer of property law firm. But it would take a litigation law firm to actually take this to court to find out if indeed it is enforceable and if there are recourse for, or there is recourse for the purchasers. But the purchaser would have to be willing to pay for that litigation, and I'm going to assume that's probably more expensive than the increase in the price for an individual unit. So something to consider. Next question: what developments have you seen these clauses in so far? Now, probably wise on Spagnolo's part here to not name the developer, but they did make it very clear that they have only seen it from one development, and that development is located in the city of Maple Ridge. Next question that was common was this shown on the actual purchase contract or in the disclosure? Do you know if it has to be in the contract to be binding, or could they put it in the disclosure after the fact, or I guess before the fact, because you're supposed to see the disclosure in advance of writing your offer, which is the biggest joke because that never actually happens in pre-construction? Or was it in future amendments to the disclosure, and the buyer would have to accept that? And the answer that they provide is no. It cannot be in a disclosure. It has to be in the contract, and it was in the contract. So there's a big difference between disclosure about what's going on with buildings and the property condition and all those things, and the actual contract that you're signing. One is the agreement. One is the developer telling you what's going on. They are two completely different documents, and the binding and most legal portion of this whole thing is for sure the contract. Now, there are rules that come into play and can actually affect the contract about how and when disclosures are given. However, it is in the contract for sure. It cannot be, in anybody's estimation, included in later on addendums or disclosures. And the last question is, can you offer any advice on what happens when a buyer has removed their conditions, or in this case, waived their 7-day rescission period, paid the deposit, but now as a result of the higher price cannot complete on the transaction? And basically Tony's answer is no. This is, if you can't complete on the transaction, that is a totally different topic than what the actual ending up purchase price will be. There are a lot of people right now trying to get out of contracts because they have buyer's remorse that they paid too much. They committed to too high of a purchase price at the time, or maybe now, because they didn't have their financing properly approved in the first place, they're coming back and saying, oh crap, my interest rates are higher than I thought and I actually can't afford this property. Sorry, folks, that doesn't get you out of your firm and binding contract. So that is a completely separate issue that you need to talk to your own lawyer about because, well, you could be in hot water. And then he kind of wraps up the whole email saying, actually, you know what? There are some partners out there in the past, way back, maybe the most senior partners that have seen this in the past. So it is a term and a condition in the contract that everyone needs to be aware of. So if you're entering into any sort of pre-construction purchase from this point forward, look for this clause because, well, I think it could really affect negatively your purchase of a property and put you in a bad spot. And given how soft the market is getting right now, what I would say to a developer, if I was looking for a purchase and I saw this clause in there, that is like the sword I'm going to die on. We're crossing that out, or I'm not going to go ahead with your project. So keep that. Now, that is very personalized advice. This channel is not supposed to be for that. Please rely on the expertise of your agent. But personally, I would not accept that term in any sort of pre-sale, given how soft the market is right now. Let me know what you think, or if you have any questions down below, I would love to come back and maybe revisit this again on a live stream, or we can elaborate on this further as the market gets a little softer and we start to learn more about this particular clause. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to click the like button to get this information out to more people. Subscribe. Check out all of these videos now on podcast apps everywhere in case you're sick of seeing my face and only want to hear my voice, or check out another video before you go on the channel, and we'll see you in a couple of days.